Alright guys, so I'm going to give you a quick overview of what we call the Cartesian Coordinates. And this is fancy words that I don't care if you know them, okay? So another way you could think about this is just graphs in 2D, okay? Alright, what's two dimensions mean? Two dimensions just means there's two numbers you got to keep track of. So usually we do that by arranging one of the numbers kind of x-wise, like your usual number line. And then we arrange the other number line perpendicular to it. We'll call those the y numbers. So this spot here is kind of 0 on the x and 0 on the y. And I'm going to denote that as a set of open parentheses with the x value here. So I'm thinking that's an x. And this guy, that second number, that's a y. So that's 0 in the x and 0 in the y. If I wanted to find another point, like maybe, for example, we go over 2, up 1. Right? Here's a dot, over 2, up 1. Right? And that dot, I'm going to put some open parentheses. Yeah. And I need the x thing, so it's 2 in the x and 1 in the y. So I've got the point 2, comma 1. Now this is probably a little bit confusing because these look like intervals, right? And they're always going to look like intervals. There's nothing I can do about that. It's really unfortunate that we decided to do things this way, but we did. So you'll have to tell whether it's a point or an interval by context. These ones are points. And again, here I'm thinking 2 in the x direction and 1 in the y direction. So let's see if we can do a little example problem. Maybe we'll try blue. So example, plot -1, -2. Okay, so because they're telling me to plot this thing, I'm thinking, okay, this has got to be a point that they're talking about. It couldn't be an interval because they're asking me to plot it, and that would be weird. So when I look at this, I got to think, all right, which one's the x direction, which one's the y direction? This is the hardest part about these. So I want you to look at this point, and I want you to think, okay, points are x, y pairs. So if it's an x-y pair, that means that x is -1. So I got to go 1 back in the x, and then I got to go 2 back in the y, but y is up and down, so that probably means down 2. So I'm going to go down 2. Here's my dot right there. This is the point -1, right, the x value, so I went back 1, and then I went down 2. So there's my point, -1, -2. And then the only other thing about these is the quadrants. So I want you to know quadrants, and the quadrants are just a fancy word for the, let's see, well, I drew this kind of cross thing, right? So I split the board into 4 pieces. Those quadrants are 1, 2, 3, and 4. And normally I wouldn't care about this, guys, but lots of people use these. Primarily the one we're going to talk about is the first quadrant, but it's worth noting that these go counterclockwise around. Okay? It's not going to be a big deal in this class, but it might be a big deal later, so I just want you to have that knowledge that there are quadrant numbers. They start up here in the spot you would think they start, and then they go counterclockwise.